So I think we've got a good number. We're a couple minutes past now, and I'm mindful of time, so I'll make a proper start. So thank you all for taking the time to join today. As you can see on the screen here, we are looking to introduce a law firm revenue stream that you might be missing out on, and how you can double client value to turn training into profit. I'm joined today by Jose Epona. So you won't just be hearing from me today, but you'll also be hearing from somebody who's doing this in the real world, which is always exciting, and not just me on my demo site. To set a brief agenda, we'll start off with introductions. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Daryl. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer here at Intellek, and I'll be showing you around the Intellek portion of today's demo. And Jose, over to you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jose. I am the head of training over here on the Epona side of things, and I'll be the one that's be showing you how we're using um, the current LMS and what type of revenue streams are possible with the way we're using it, kind of like a use case example.
Awesome. Thank you, Jose. The other things we'll look at today as part of the agenda, we'll go through an overview of the revenue stream so we can add a bit more context to what we're going to show today. We'll show, of course, an overview of the features that make it possible. That's both from, I guess, an admin perspective as far as Intellek is concerned, as Jose's just mentioned, from an end user perspective and how that may come to life in a client environment. And there we go there, a real world example from Jose as well. Like I mentioned, we'll try and stop at the end for some Q&A. Appreciate you might have some questions on this one. So we'll try and allocate, like I say, 5 or 10 minutes at the end to make sure we can answer those for you. So I'm going to pass back over to Jose, and he's going to explain why Epona and how they're involved.
Thank you so much, Daryl. So we are in the legal tech space. That's a really fancy way of saying that most of our clientele is attorneys or anything that has to do with the legal industry. Most of the headaches that it is that we feel that we resolve in the legal space is we offer a DMS. We offer a very proactive solution to any kind of document management system so that way you can work not only cross-platform, but also to ensure that you're stepping into the new Microsoft 365 environment with AI and everything of the sort. What we want to do essentially in the legal realm of things is we want to make a one-stop solution for everybody in the organization to be able to locate, save, find their documentation, and not have to worry about any other applications or any other software. It's very user friendly. It's very easy on the eyes, like how I like to say it. And we have been in the industry for over decades now. So we're heavily on top of SharePoint, and we have our custom UI that allows us to really cater to whatever needs our clients are looking for. And ultimately, we really like to adapt into the environment of our clients. And with the LMS, that has been almost like an overnight success to teaching our clients how to use our system while also not having to change too much of their workflow. I'm gonna put my contact information in the chat a little bit later on in case you have more questions as far as like what we do or how we can help in the legal realm of things.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jose. So we'll move on to the revenue stream. So what are we going to do today? Well, ultimately, there are lots of law firms out there that do provide CLE to clients already. Sometimes this is part of a value add service, and sometimes this is part of a kind of a premium subscription or potentially some revenue available. What we're going to do is we're going to show you a very kind of robust way that you can market those training materials to your clients and how you can potentially leverage something that you're already doing into an additional revenue stream. We're going to show you how we can create a hub for all client resources. So not only necessarily things that you can sell to clients, but then also maybe some resources that you're showing them anyway. Maybe that's policies or documentation. And ultimately, it'll be an all-encompassing central repository for all things clients related and sharing. And then, of course, everyone's favorite word is automation. So we'll show you how we can automate that process to take away some of that admin and make it as easy as possible for not only you to provide the resource, but also your clients to access them. We'll do this through a couple of system demos. So I'm going to show you through an overview of Intellek. That's going to be an admin focus in terms of what actually is possible. That will cover some key e-commerce features like turning on some purchasable elements. We'll look at some key automation features around how we can communicate and report and also showcase some more of the features in an automated way. And then we'll also look at some of those reporting features and what you can get from that backend. Jose is then going to go through his side of the demonstration, and he's going to provide an overview of Epona University for you, which is really quite exciting. So that'll be fun. He will showcase the simplicity in the user experience, and then also some setup and implementation of how that has happened working with Intellek, but then also what's involved from his side of things too. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump out of these slides here and we'll jump straight into the system. So here is your login page. And ultimately, the login page is actually quite important because from an end user perspective, they can actually self-create their account. So one of the key features here is actually taking away some of the onus from you as a set of admins and providing the opportunity for users to govern their own access. Essentially, what that means is a user can come through the system and they can go through and create their account. You have lots of different opportunities to provide different parameters. So if you need to capture specific information for things like your CRM, maybe a client number, perhaps an attorney that they're working with, any of those kind of niche requirements where you want to capture that information from your client, you can add that into a customizable form on the front end here, and they'll be able to register and access that information themselves. In terms of what that then looks like, from an admin perspective, we'll sign in now as me. So I'm the company admin here at Intellek. And when we have people come through, they're going to filter through here to my approval requests. So the moment somebody comes through into the system, you can see here that we've got some users that have requested access over the last few years, apparently. But ultimately here, I can then decide to approve or decline these users. So again, it does make that process really quite seamless in the sense of you can make this available to your clients. You can share with them that link to access the platform. They can all then go and register their interest and create their own account. And then you guys can go through and approve those as and when needed. It just takes away a lot of the sting from kind of having someone come in here and add a load of users manually or through an import. Once they're in the system, there's then a number of things that you can do as an admin to tailor their experience. So at the top here, we've got a banner feature. So again, you can make this quite familiar from day one. You may want to use it from a branding perspective, as I've shamelessly done myself. You then can add in some user guides. Of course, this might be the first time that any of your clients have accessed a platform like this. So if you want to give them some, I guess, indication or some context as to how they can use the platform, they can come through to something like this, where you give them screenshots and instructions, and not only screenshots, but if you take a look in the bottom left-hand side of my screen, you'll see there's a redirection link as well. Again, it just makes it incredibly easy from an end user's perspective that when they click and interact with some of these different elements in the system, it's taking them somewhere important to them. So the assignments one there, for example, it takes them through to anything they have pre-assigned or ready to go. In your realm, we're thinking things like documentation, maybe a contract they need to acknowledge, anything along those lines where you want to share information or potentially some courses. Moving down, you can then feature some courses as well. So if you have anything that's kind of high value or high impact and you want to make sure that it's readily available to clients, you can make that obvious from the get-go. And then you have some space to help manage your own experience as an admin as well. Thinking things along the lines of quick access on that right-hand side, when you come into the system, you're more than likely going to want to do one of a few things. Now, of course, as we're looking to generate revenue, you may want to connect the system to something like a CRM. We do have clients that are already doing that through an open suite of APIs. It means that any kind of conversion that takes place here inside the LMS and any kind of account creation can also be sent to that CRM itself. Now, in this instance, I may want to click on that CRM, and that's going to take me through to my Salesforce homepage. Again, from my perspective as an admin, I'm going to look at some of the data inside the LMS, and then maybe I want to come and collaborate that here inside the Salesforce platform too. Again, from an admin perspective, a couple of other functions that are really important to me. I want to be able to follow up with my clients, make sure they're making the most of their experience here, maybe providing them with some extra information, perhaps sending them a newsletter, and that's going to come in the way of an email. So not only can we provide a platform to host some information, but we can also provide a channel of communication. So it's not as straightforward as just kind of having some courses in an environment and hoping people come to the platform. we can really drive engagement by providing them regular communications through things like course broadcast, event broadcast, and again, sharing information wherever possible. If we take a step back into that communication tab, we can do that through email templates and automated notifications. So again, as I said earlier, we want to heavily influence things through automated interaction to make your life as easy as possible when it comes to driving traffic, not only to the system, but also driving conversions and revenue. Taking a step back to the homepage itself, we then have the most important place, and that is, of course, the library. So for any of you who are looking to repurpose some of that training content that you already have inside your firm and maybe make it a revenue stream by kind of adding a price to it and providing it to clients, then this is where all the magic will happen. As you can see here in my library, I have a cart function in the top right-hand side of my screen. And then as we scroll through, we have our categories, but then also some different lessons. Now, it looks like I've already got some items in my cart here, and I can go to cart to view those. And I've also got some additional modules that I can add to my cart too. We're not looking at one fixed price to make this kind of as easy as possible. You can have a clear and direct pricing strategy with all of your different elements here. So as you can see, I've got a standalone lesson here. It's a Windows 11 on Vimeo, and that's going to add to cart for $55. And then this little icon here means I've got a pathway. A pathway in our world is just more than one resource strung together. So that might be 2 videos, 3 videos, 3 videos and a documentation, maybe something in person and a video, any kind of combination along those lines. We can put those together in a learning path, and then we can charge that as a library. So again, you may want to kind of up that price significantly, but ultimately you can have a clear and direct pricing strategy inside the system. When we go to add to cart, that's going to make it, again, apparent that it's ready to go. If we're going to go to the cart itself, you can either do that by clicking the blue button or hitting the cart in the top right-hand corner. And then we can see here a breakdown of all the different items that I want to purchase. Again, you've got some really good options around what that license looks like. That could be a combination of one-off courses, or it could be a combination of lifetime access versus a one-time license, and then maybe even something in between, like monthly access or quarterly access. We have our breakdown at the top of what those lessons look like. So we've got those 2 individual lessons at an individual price of $50 and $25. And then we have that learning path that's actually a combination of different modules or lessons inside as well. We can see here that using the code, you can differentiate between what type of lessons those are in terms of delivery. So we've got some videos and then we've got some scheduled courses too. So this particular skills for claims handling is going to incorporate both video and also some instructor training sessions. This person can then go and check out at that $255 total, and that will combine with Stripe to provide them quite an easy purchase element to the e-commerce. So we can go through here, we can fill out our card details, and then we can pay, and then we'll receive those items. We'll take a step back into the LMS here. We'll go back into the library, and we'll show some of those and how you can set that up. So again, it's quite straightforward. We can go into any one of our categories here, and we can find a lesson that we want to now make a price for. Again, you might have a combination of resources here inside the LMS that are both purchasable, but then also are maybe free to use. So again, if you are already kind of providing some documentation or some policy to clients in terms of free resources, you can continue to do that and then have some upsell opportunities to make sure we are also using the platform to generate revenue. So we can go to a lesson. Perhaps now you're changing these digital transformation to be a paid for alternative. We can hit the pencil in the top right-hand side of that card. And when we scroll down to the bottom, we're going to find the area where we can change the license type. Now, as I mentioned, this can be a one-off purchase. It can be lifetime access, or it can be somewhere in between for a number of days. We're going to make this a lifetime purchase. We're going to change this to $25, and then we're going to save this one. When we save this one, that's now going to issue a price to that particular course. And using the breadcrumb, I'm going to go back to that same area inside the library, and I'm going to see that that course has now changed to $25. We can now add that one to cart to test and make sure it works. We can use that same button to go to cart, and now we've updated our cart to not only have those 3 original ones, but we've now got that 4th course too. That then changes the cost, and again, we see that 280 total. So again, really quite easy to manage these resources, especially in an environment where you're already kind of providing these type of resources to clients. Now, of course, sometimes it seems quite scary having to link two systems together. We've seen there potentially linking Salesforce, potentially linking Stripe, and kind of managing all those relationships. However, the setup is incredibly easy. So using the hamburger menu on the left-hand side, it really is as simple as going down to settings, turning on the e-commerce functionality within inside the platform there with a checkbox, and then adding in a Stripe API key. You'll find this on any Stripe page. You can bring this in, and then this will kind of connect the two systems together. So you don't need, lots of experience in terms of hard integrations to manage this one particularly. It really is as simple as kind of leveraging some of the tools that already exist in both the LMS, but also in something like Stripe as a payment window, and bringing that information in. So no need to worry on that front. Now, of course, inside your repertoire of kind of resources that you're providing clients, that might be a combination of things like documentation, it might be videos, it might be kind of more traditional e-learning like SCORM content and anything along those lines. But of course, you may also want to charge clients to attend some form of session. So that can be an instruct-led session. Maybe your attorneys are putting on particular talks around leadership or some sort of case law or anything along those lines. But ultimately, they may want to charge clients to come and attend a conference or a talk or a webinar or something along those lines there. Again, that can all take place. We can look for a very specific course type. So we can click courses here, and then we can go for scheduled. This is going to pick up all of our scheduled courses. So anything that is eventually going to be an event. And then with the enroll button, we can also make sure that these can be purchased too. So when we hit the pencil in the top right of one of these course cards, we're then going to go down and have an event, and then we can, again, make sure that we're able to add in some information there. We do have the ability to set up different pricing structures for all these different events and courses, as you can see. And then again, it's a case of going to the cart to make sure that we're able to check out. That workflow is incredibly simple. You can add that for all of your different types of courses and events and series, and then we can go through and manage that process throughout the LMS itself. Finally, of course, you're going to have people sign up for these different events. You're going to be able to see how they manage that process, how far are they getting through, especially if you're providing lifetime access or maybe a one-off license type or anything along those lines. But ultimately, that can all be achieved through going through some of the reporting functions here. So we can go into one of these reporting functions and look at training tracking. And then from here, we can look at a particular date range. Now, my system itself hasn't got a lot of learners in here, so we're just going to go for a 3-month period. But again, you can get quite granular. So depending on how you set up your system and how you're kind of differentiating your different clients and how they're going to use the platform, you can also set up things like, maybe a client type, maybe the company that they work for, if you're working with lots of different companies and having them all in here, maybe when they started, their longevity of the client or their duration, anything along those lines, we can look at those particular areas. You can even look at things like locations and see where you're kind of generating the most revenue in terms of, location by location. Have you got more clients in New York versus LA or potentially London? Any of those different places, we can start looking at where this traction is coming from. We can run a report based on those different parameters. My system is quite light, so we're just going to go for a general 3-month period, and then we're going to see all the different bits of information around completions. So we can see here a few names, we can see how far they've gone in terms of courses, and then whether or not they've enrolled or passed or anything like that too. So again, really quite easy to get some of that back-end data out. And then from here, you have 2 options. So you can export that information. The exportable element will take you to a CSV. That can then be manipulated in something like BI or Excel or any way you feel comfortable manipulating that data. And then you also have the ability to save these reports as well. So we spoke earlier about automation. Not only can you automate some of the process around, approving the access, and then also automating some of the communication around the courses and inviting people to particular pathways and events. We can then also generate an automated report so that you can see all this information or potentially share with a stakeholder. So we can see here, we won't send this report if it's empty, and we will set an expiration date. Maybe you want to keep that open for 7, 14, 21, 30 days, more than likely depending on how long you're going to run the report for. And then we can set a recurrence. Mine's going to be a monthly report. I want to do this at the end of the month to review the performance of the month we've just looked at. So I'm going to do this on day 28 of every month, accounting for February, of course. And I don't particularly want an end date. So I'm going to apply this one. This one is going to be my monthly training report for client purchases. We can add that in. And then from here, we can schedule this to go out. Now, what's quite nice is you can actually send this to both somebody else inside the system. So if you are working with a team of your colleagues, potentially you've got marketing in here and training and maybe business development, and you want to share this information around the different departments, we can add a different user, but then we can also add an additional or external email address. So if you kind of want to go through and send that to somebody specifically, then you can as well, just typing in their email address and that'll pick them up too. We can save this report and then we're good to go. This will sit inside your scheduled reports on your reports page here. We can see a list of all the different scheduled reports we've got. So if you have got different sort of attorneys that want to see their client load who are accessing the system regularly, you could send that to a particular attorney, a list of all their clients that are using the platform, and then you're able to see kind of any purchases they make, but then also kind of the content that they're interacting with as well. It's a really good tool to see all that information. Now, we spoke earlier about the ability to create a different pricing strategy for standalone courses, but then also kind of courses that you've strung together in that learning path. There's a couple of really nice features to see that differentiation. So if we go into the analytics here and go to a pathway, we can open up all of our different paths that we have attached that we're now sharing with clients, and we can see general completions. So of course, they are purchasing these pathways. So the onus on them really is to complete it as and when they need to. However, you can also email to follow up to make sure they're not stuck, to provide some guidance, maybe even to step in with some upsell opportunities as well. But the email icon here in the bottom left-hand side or the bottom right-hand side of each tile, as they click on that or as you click on this, you will see the ability to find all 61 people and follow up if you want to. So again, really quite easy to automate, semi-automate some of these processes to make sure that you're able to share some information. And then finally, just to kind of go through what's possible from like a customizable element, we can go to settings here, and not only can you create something tailored for you as an admin. So as I look at my company admin view, this is where I see those kind of different widgets that I've set up for me. You can create a tailored experience for your end users as well, just by changing that standard role there. And we can see that my end user sees something completely different. So again, you may want to connect them to somewhere else that they might access some content or potentially some different areas of the system. So again, the onus is on you to create a really kind of strong user experience to tie in all these different places that they may want to go or need to go to access some courses. We jump back to the home page. I think it covers off everything that the admin side can do. So I'm going to pass over to Jose next, who's going to take you through his environment and how he set it up to speak to his clients' needs.
Thank you so much, Daryl. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take over the share, and I'm actually going to share my window here. Perfect. Hopefully everybody can see that. And drum roll right here. This is Epona University. So just like Daryl showed, essentially the platform within itself is fully customizable. So I can change this banner to whatever it is that we have for our specific needs. This is that use case. I have the featured wheel that has our individual courses and also course load. And this is more from the admin perspective. So that way I can go ahead and I can handle whatever users I'm going to add into the system. And it's very easy to use. I won't go through any of these options. Daryl already showed you most of these things, but I really want to focus on the automation aspect of it. Whenever it is that we have a new user, we want to give access to a user to some of these courses or essentially to like their own market. This communications tabs is your best friend. You can actually set up an email template that's fully customizable for you. You can set up automated notifications. And then as soon as the user creates a profile or you add the user into your environment, then it automatically sends them an email that allows them to create their own user login, their own user password. But you as the administrator don't have to know any of that information. So there's never any cross of security or anything of the sort. It's all very, very safe and locked down. And You never have to cross that realm of, so, hey, what's your password? Or, hey, what do I need to do to reset the password? That's all taken care of on the user perspective. And on the admin's perspective, you still have access. Now that Daryl has done such an amazing job showing you the admin type of things, I really want to show you what it's like from the user end of things. So from here, you can always just change your profile, of course, if you're the administrator of the LMS, and you can assume your identity. This is my favorite feature that this specific LMS that Intellect has that I haven't seen across any other LMS. I can, in real time, while still being logged into my admin, I can go ahead and I can type in a test user, and I can immediately take a look at what they're seeing. It's a good way for us to kind of do a little bit of quality control, just to make sure that they're assigned the proper paths. Take a look at what exactly it is that they're seeing. Whenever it is that we do any kind of like updates, like Daryl was showing you as far as those little widgets and the links that you can put on the free text, it automatically shows here. And you can kind of do a trial run before your user does their own trial run. So that way you can see exactly what they're seeing and what they could be experiencing. If we see here all the assignments, just like Daryl was informing, we have this path that's right here. Well, clearly this path doesn't have any courses, but at the path level, once the user is assigned a path, you can actually take a look at what are the courses they're also assigned to as well. And you, as the admin, have full control either whether or not that user has one-time access, meaning that they complete the course and they're locked out until further use, or they have unlimited access and they gives you a report, reports it back to your admin, but it also gives the user themselves a like kind of like a report card just to let them see how they're doing. So it's a really good way to establish this environment where you're indirectly speaking with your client without ever having to be intrusive or set up a meeting, and really taking a look at the live feedback of whether or not your course is actually worth what they're paying for. So it's a good way to kind of not be so pushy and sending out survey results or anything of the sort. And then you can immediately just get that feedback from here. So from the user end of things, the only thing that we have decided to give our users access to is just their learning record in the homepage. One thing that you'll notice is missing is the library aspect. Well, the library aspects opens up the world of e-commerce, but we can have users in levels where some of them have a library access, others just have direct courses, or you can even set up a pathway where you can set it up in tiers where you have maybe these basic members have this amount of access, and then these premium members have these amount of access, and then those university members have the top tier access. So it really does work based upon your needs as a company. Now, as far as the implementation is concerned, that's the part that was the most headache. I'm just joking. That part was actually the simplest above all else. We have great support from the Intellect team, and they still support you even through the project completion. So you still have great amount of, you can always reach out. Daryl, Julie, Lucia, all of their team. They're always very, very good at responding to any questions. And my favorite part when it comes to the implementation aspect of it is that they have a can-do attitude in regards to what you're trying to accomplish. So when I say fully customizable to your environment, I legitimately mean we'll sit down, we'll discuss the design, we'll discuss the functionality, and then all of their team will try to find a way to make sure that we can make whatever it is that I'm trying to make happen within their environment. So the support offered is fantastic. The quickness on the turnaround, of course, it depends on your individual design, but I found it relatively quickly when it came to the software space. And I haven't had any complaints from the clients that it is that we've assigned as users. If anything, it's actually made us a more reachable, and it's put us more um, able to communicate with the client on a more one-to-one level as far as what they're expecting from us and what they're wanting to learn about our product. So it's been absolutely revolutionary for us, at least here at Epona. That's all I got there. I'll go ahead and hand back over the share to you. Any questions so far?
Brilliant. Thank you, Jose. Appreciate that. Really
Absolutely.
good synopsis of how you're using the platform, which is great. And yeah, I really like the simplicity of what you've set up there in terms of kind of taking away the areas that potentially could be confusing for an end user and just making it as kind of specific to them as possible, which is great to see. That has come through a lot quicker than I thought we'd get through it. So that's fantastic. It means that everyone can have a bit more of their day back, which is always nice. But yeah, thank you all for taking the time out today to join us, and hopefully you found this useful.